welcome to Haunted Universities 3. And as you might have guessed by that title, yes, this is the third movie in this series from Thailand. Now this is an anthology movie. I have reviewed the second film, but I haven't seen the first. But you don't need to have seen any previous ones, as these anthology movies have no connection to anything before them. But the broad storyline is that they are ghost stories that takes place in or around universities. So this one consists of 3 short films, and let's discuss each individually. So the first one focuses on 2 platonic friends, a male and a female. They're not a couple, they are just friends, and both of them are on the poorer side, so they're hoping to get their studies subsidised. But there's only one place to do that, and so they kind of agree that the best student will win, and they go to this temple to get a blessing from this priestess. You know, this someone who has died hundreds of years ago in Thai folklore or religion, and the kind of rules are that you can only get blessed if you are a couple, because this priestess was killed to do with a kind of a lover's tryst. So the idea being that she can only bless couples. So they're not really a couple because they're just friends, but they decide to do it anyway. And this unlocks this revenge, this kind of spirits, all of whom have been beheaded. And now this 2 friends are pursued by a bunch of headless ghosts that want a sacrifice. What will happen? You'll have to watch the movie and find out. So this one was the most visually interesting, I would say. And I think it's an interesting setup where we have 2 friends that are just friends. They're just platonic friends, and they even discuss, like, should we get together, when they start realising that there's ghosts chasing them. And they sort of say, well, look, should we become a couple? And it's like, well, we are just friends. You can't really force that sort of interaction with someone. So I think it's nice to have a story involving like a male and female friend, and that's all there is. There's no sort of love story or anything like that. It's actually almost an anti-love story, or at least a platonic love story. So I thought that setup was nice. And these kind of ghosts, these headless ghosts, that at one point sort of are marching towards them en masse, look visually striking, and these the VFX are achieved digitally, but I think they're done to a kind of a good standard. And the other interesting thing is that a lot of these sort of ghost attacks appear during the day, so they just kind of pop up out of nowhere almost, so you're not kind of really expecting them. And I've got to say, I sort of quite enjoyed this one. It ends rather abruptly, I will say, and maybe it might not be a completely satisfying ending for some, but I kind of liked it. This to me was a sort of fairly sort of strong movie in actual fact. Only just kind of like, the digital effects aren't quite perfect, but nonetheless I kind of liked it, and I thought it was pretty strong. The second one is, this one was, to me, was the weakest out of the 3 movies, and it's kind of to do with this like hazing ritual. So we have 2 classes of people, the older class and the younger class, and the university wants to try, or at least the student bodies want to try and get rid of any hazing ritual. So they've kind of come up with this thing where the older students, the seniors, have to secretly look after the freshmen, the younger, newly come up sort of students, and they've got to pick a name out of the hat and give them a gift. And the movie focuses on this one senior who's actually a little bit of a bully, and he doesn't really want to do it, and he's actually already at odds with the guy who he picked out of the hat, so they have a little bit of an antagonistic relationship. But there seems to have been, some years ago, a hazing ritual that went wrong that claimed some lives, and the ghosts of these people involved are sort of reenacting their situation that involves both this bully guy and the tormented younger student, and they have to try and kind of get it resolved. Now, this one was the least visually interesting. I think the ghosts here, the makeup doesn't look particularly strong. It's not as memorable in regards to any kind of, particularly VFX wise. It's not necessarily bad in regards to its presentation, but it's just, it doesn't really stand out in any way. But I think the thing here is that the movie just seems a little convoluted in regards to its kind of plot. And it's not entirely clear about what's actually sort of happening. Interesting, I think this is the only one really that has less to do with the kind of Thai culture. And is more of just a kind of general sort of revenge ghost story. And yeah, the relationships between the characters, I wasn't quite buying. We meant to believe this guy is a little bit of a bully, but we don't really see much of that. He's just kind of like, is a little bit, doesn't want to do the ceremony and things. And it's just, I'm like, well, you know, there could have been a little bit more to it. And this movie sort of concludes at a certain point, but then it kind of carries on. So unlike the last one, where the movie was a little abrupt, this one sort of keeps on going, I think, past its natural end. So to me, it wasn't necessarily a bad film, but it was pretty unmemorable, and I think the character work wasn't as good, and also the general narrative of what's actually happening was rather convoluted. The third one is a comedic one, although I wouldn't go as far as to say it's an out-and-out comedy. The last movie, actually, the third movie, was a comedic one, so it has this slightly goofier edge, but still having a genuinely spooky kind of like ghost situation. And this one involves this trio of people. We've got a couple, and the girl is wanting to sing in this Halloween contest, and the winner is determined by these garlands, these like flower arrangements that are given to each contestant, and whoever has the most wins. And this girl is singing in her Halloween contest, and she hasn't got any garlands, so she gets her boyfriend to go and get her one, and he can't find any, and ends up taking one off this shrine, which unfortunately for them is a kind of a mystic shrine. And this allows loads of ghosts to kind of haunt them. Now, we have an accident, and this girl has a close encounter with death, but her voice changes. So she sounds like Mickey Mouse after that, so she can't really sing because she has this kind of like comedic voice. And then they get this third guy who's like a little bit of a shunned guy, because the rules are that you can only see this shrine if you don't know the story, and he's the only one that wasn't in this particular kind of like gathering. So the three of them try to find this shrine, the third guy, not really knowing what's going on, and sort of seeing all these ghosts and thinking they're just like people for Halloween and stuff. So it has some kind of like some funnier moments in it, and there are some genuinely quite funny moments. Like our boyfriend character, he's a little bit of a whiner, and one of the ghosts keeps kind of slapping his head to sort of to try and kind of give him a bit of a warning and things. So there are some kind of quite funny moments in here, and it's kind of quite again quite amusing. The third guy, it doesn't really know what's kind of going on, so there's a scene where these three ghosts are walking towards the lift, and the two other people kind of know that they're ghosts, and they're trying to shut the door, and he's trying to keep like the lift door or the elevator door open because he thinks they're coming to use the elevator. Again, I think it's quite well done. And we have a whole host of ghosts, and the interesting thing with this one is, are the ghosts benevolent or are they malicious? There's a whole question with that. So that one I kind of quite enjoyed. It might be a little bit too comedic for some, but overall I kind of quite liked it. I have to say I quite enjoyed this anthology. The second film isn't particularly strong, I would say. But the first and the third one, I got to say, I thought were pretty strong. So overall, I'm going to give this movie a 7 out of 10. I actually think it's quite a improvement over the second movie that I saw. So 7 out of 10 for me. I thought this is a good watch. If you don't mind, obviously, reading subtitles. Have you seen this or any other The Haunted University movies? Please let me know, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time.